Okay, everyone, this is it. This is the finished object video, the FO video. And if you've been following through, you know that this is part of the knitting process, which is a series I did where I knit this sweater all the way through my knitting process from the very start and planning it through knitting it, any mods I did, as well as finishing it, which now obviously we're done. So here it is. This is the Douglas Carty pattern by Andrea Mowry from Drea Renee Knits. This is my second time knitting it. The first time I knit this, it was one of the first things I ever knit from like a garment. And I'll show you that again because the contrast from then till now should hopefully help people get confidence in continuing to practice and refine their knitting skills. I would still call myself intermediate to advanced. But when I made the first one, I had everything wrong. And this time I've got it pretty much right, I would say. I love the way it turned out. Keep in mind it's on my Duty, which is my mannequin. And I mean, this is not like regular human proportion sizes from a normal person or a standard average person, I would say. So it's meant to fit and made to fit on my body, which I may or may not choose to show at the end of this. But I wanted you to get a look at all the details. So it's going to be a little shaky. Here's the button band. I love the button band. It's just a ribbed button band sewn in. I chose not to do any buttons, so there's no buttonholes, which means I can layer it left over right or right over left, however I'd like. The drop sleeve detail, and then the sleeves fit actually right to perfection. That was one of the big issues with the first one I did. The pockets have been sewn in, so you can kind of see just where they're sewn in, but we didn't watch ourselves. We didn't watch ourselves. I watched myself, and you guys watched me kind of plan out these afterthought pockets, which are part of the pattern, so you can go get the pattern. It's linked below. The beautiful ribbing, nice thick ribbing on the bottom. There's a bit of body shaping in it, so let me kind of pan backwards here. Again, this is a no editing zone here, so the best I'll do is pause the video and then resume it. But you can see the ease built in, which is that extra bagginess. And then down through the sleeve, I kept it kind of tapered. I think I did a little more sleeve shaping. So maybe we should talk about the mods first. Oh, I'll show you the back. Again, this isn't kind of normal body proportions and the way it hangs, but looks beautiful. I love the drape. I love the thickness of the material. You can't see my fingers through it, but it's not very heavy. This is a DK weight yarn from the Frosted Stitch here in Ontario, Canada. So it's quite thin and nice. You can see all my loose ends have been woven in. We did that in one of the videos. You can see the pocket liners. I'm not going to hide anything. You can see the pocket lining a little bit just because that is how I sewed it in. But you can't see the pocket liner or the pocket stitching on the outside. So now I've just messed up its aesthetic, but that's okay. So this is the finished item and it looks great. What I'm going to do for a second is I'm going to try, let's see how this goes. I'm going to hold up my first attempt at this, which I did also show in my... Oh, there's a big, long bit of me holding my finger in front of the camera. I did show this in my part 1 video. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one off the Duty and put this one on, just so you can see the contrast. But I feel like I should make this pretty one more time. This is the amount of professionalism you will get here. All right, so this is my new one. Now that I know all I've learned about knitting over the last X number of years, like probably over the last 4 years or so. Pause. Dun dun dun. And this is the first one I knit, which is one of the first sweaters that I knit. I didn't notice it was hanging so droopily. But first thing that you should notice is the absolute droopiness, which is kind of cool for a sweater. It's just not great for me and my sweater. But my main issue with this one, I think the construction's not too bad. The yarn choice was obviously not good, and then my tension and needle selection led to this, which is super holey, super loose. I knew it as it was going, but I was kind of like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll bloom more when I block it. And that was simply not true. I picked a fiber that I just don't like the finished drape on. It's too droopy. It's lacking some structure. Construction-wise, I mean, the main thing that I learned between this one and the one that I just did for y'all was how to do yarn tension. And I talk about that in one of my early cast-on ones, I think. So learning how to tension the yarn and also learning how to swatch, block my swatch, and figure out if I like the drape and find the right needles and knit the right size. That's kind of it. But like the actual construction, I did a pretty good job considering I was a newbie knitter at that point. And my pockets look great too. Anyway, so this is the difference from like when I was starting to knit sweaters to now. Now I'm going to put the other one back on. Okay, so I wanted to step through the mods that I did individually, talk through them and why I did them one more time to remind people. So the first mod I did was I didn't put buttons on the band, and I actually shrunk the band from the pattern a little bit. And the reason for that was, if you go back in my other videos in the playlist, I was running out of this color of yarn, this main color. So I did some planning and just made this a little bit thinner, which was fine. I think it looks great. I don't think it's missing out on anything. Another mod I made was I did one extra stripe in the body to try to give it length. This is where I kind of feel like I have to put it on my body so you can see it, because I wanted it to hit, you know, kind of over my bum if I can. Another mod I made, which I already mentioned, I think, was I did do a few more decreases along the sleeve. I always just remath my sleeves. And then one other major mod people might notice if they've made this pattern is the pattern actually comes out like this and extends these horizontal stripes out a little bit. I decided not to do that because I didn't love that last time, because it made this drop shoulder go like all the way to my elbow. And so I wanted to raise that up a bit. Other than that, I didn't really do any mods. Everything else is exactly as written. And there were a lot of different decisions. Like I had to decide about gauge because I was slightly off, but I think it went really well. So all my decisions, all my thought process, every step, anytime I did anything that wasn't just actually sitting and knitting, I documented it for you in this playlist, start to finish, so that hopefully you can get some confidence in increasing your knitting skills or seeing how other people do it. I love seeing how other people do things, just in general. It fascinates me. So I guess now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on. And this is against my better judgment. I don't like putting stuff on camera and things like that. But I'll do it for you at least to just show where it hits on my body and show, because I talked a lot about finding the right size that will work for me. So I owe you that, and I'm going to do that. But I will say you can go over to the other social medias on Instagram, TikTok, things like that. If you do want to see more little clips and in-progress photos and things like that along the way as I do things, I'm a little more comfortable with sort of still images there. Okay, here goes nothing. So here's the close-up of the drop shoulder. You can see it. You can see sort of shoulder to back, how that looks. And then you can see the ease. So when we talk about ease, it means like how loose is this hanging off the widest part of my body, which is typically, for most people, it's their bust. Depends on the body type. But this is that positive ease. So if you go into some of the earlier videos and you're wondering what ease is about, it's really like once this is closed up, how much extra looseness is hanging off of me. So that's that part. I will show you, hopefully you can see it. Maybe I'll go up on my tiptoes in case you can't. Where it kind of hits the butt. Looks great. The sleeve length, which hopefully you can see. I've got a little bit of extra room in there to keep it nice and baggy, but it's not anywhere too long, and it's definitely not too short. There's nothing worse if you don't want it than having a sleeve that ends up like this. Okay. So, and then the pockets, where can you see them? Beautifully placed. All in all, I think the length is great. I wouldn't mind if it was a tiny bit longer, but if you followed along in the saga, you'll know that I really struggled with, I didn't struggle with, I just wanted to be mindful of not needing to open up extra yarn, because a sweater like this made with indie dyed yarn, hand dyed yarn, does really add up. So I was trying to be as frugal as I could with my yarn. I think I added as much as I possibly could without needing to use more yarn. And speaking of the yarn, I guess I can grab it. I do have one skein left. When I originally bought this beautiful yarn from Frosted Stitch, Krista's the best. If you know her, you know her. This is Kurt. This is her non-superwash base, which is new. When I first bought this, I wasn't sure if I was going to do this as the main color, but once I got this, so this one's called Kurt. Once I got it against my skin tone, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go with the purple, which I'm more of a purple and teal or blue colored. Hi. And yeah, so I had this extra one in case I was going to use this as the main color. So now I can use this in a different project. Again, not something directly against my skin because I don't think it's in my color wheel. But that's it. That is the whole series. And I'm going to let this simmer. I guess I should talk for like 1 second. I'm going to move it up. Hang on. Like I literally don't even know where to look. This is so low tech. I think it's good to talk about just the knitting process and the timing. So I did all the prep work. It took about 3 or 4 days to do swatches and block swatches. I did all that in a couple days, and then I cast on June 1st. And today it is June 22nd. I finished knitting on June 18th, I believe. So this was a really quick project for me. But everyone knits at their own pace, and I was really motivated through the videos to make sure that I could finish it. Because I was like really excited to actually get all the videos out. So you might not have had a chance to watch everything at this point. I think I'm looking at the camera when I do this, but I can't tell. But if you add comments, if you go through the playlist and add comments on questions, I'll come back and do one once if there's a bunch of questions. If not, whatever. But I can come back and do like a Q&A answering, because I thought maybe I'd be able to answer as I went, but then I went really, really fast. Anyways, I hope you loved the series. I'm going to love my sweater for sure. And that's it. I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do next, but thanks for following along. Bye. I'm back. I decided to do as one little blooper, show you how ridiculously oversized this one, which was the first one I made, actually is. So this is what happens when you don't plan your sizing properly, when you don't plan your gauge and your needles and pick the right yarn and all that stuff. I still love it. It's cozy. I do still wear it, but it is my beginner knit, and this one is more my intermediate plus knit. And so I'm really proud of my own journey, and I hope that other people can love knitting and knitting related stuff as much as I do. That's it. Bye.